And my grandpa came, if you saw the house that he grew up in, I'm not trying to be funny, it looked like a slave house. It was just, they grew up in poverty. And the fact that he was able to go from that and get the highest rank enlisted in the United States Navy amidst, all these, systems, so to speak, and he was able to buy his own house out in San Diego. He was able to, pass on these things to his son, my dad, and his grandchildren. Now I'm able to get an education.
What's up, guys? This is part 3 of my reaction to the Jubilee 20 black conservatives versus 1 black liberal debate. And if you haven't seen part 1 or part 2 yet, I'll put them in the description below. Wait till after this video to watch it. It's not like you need to go back and watch that before this or anything like that. I'm just going to jump right into it now. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment down below.
Systemic racism isn't a theory. It's our lived reality backed by data and history.
Hello?
Hello, John.
John Samuel.
Hello, John Samuel. First name, first name. All right.
Blame my parents.
Hi, parents.
I want to listen to you first. Why do you feel that? Why do you feel that way? Why
John went to debate training before he came here. Okay. Ultimately, I feel that way because it's simply just facts. It's in the books, and that's why there have been laws to challenge it. There have been innumerable instances where actual systems were created specifically for the impediment of Black people to advance. We have also seen numerous instances where there were things created for Black people to advance, and they were taken back under the auspices of, we don't want them to advance. Ultimately, systemic racism exists in our institutions on a government level, in our institutions, whether it's prisons or schools, and it is undeniable because they are actively trying to reinstate it right now.
Can you give me an example of one of those systems that you believe perpetuates that cycle of racism? Redlining? Okay.
Yes.
And how does that, can you elaborate? How is that affecting the Black community?
Do you know what redlining is?
I know a little bit. I'm not an expert.
Redlining was a system that was created to determine property values, and that said Black people can only live in certain neighborhoods and not in other neighborhoods. And the redlining lowered the property values of those Black neighborhoods by stating that they were more savage, that they were more dangerous, etc. Thus, they were not able to own property that was on a level of par to their white counterparts. There were also many efforts at just simply not allowing Black people to get loans for property, putting them in predatory scenarios where they were being essentially unable to own land. And that inability to own land, but still having to pay out a mortgage, if you will, or a rent, continued to put Black people in a conundrum of not being able to excel at the same economic rate as their white counterparts.
What I'm hearing from you, if I'm hearing correctly, is it feels like in the United States that for a while we've kind of established these systems at their foundation, and they've continued on, and they've continually just oppressed Black people, and we haven't dismantled them, and we haven't done much so they continue to complete the cycle. Is that what I'm hearing correctly?
Well, in many of these systems, they have been dismantled maybe in name, but because this country has never dismantled the culture of racism, they end up still living in practice. So we see that, for instance, in the way that the appraisal system works. Now, we saw there was an entire documentary on how appraisals have been also very racist, home appraisals, right? So your ability to sell your house for the value that it deserves.
Right.
There were a number of homes, particularly in Marin County, California, where Black people had one appraisal when they had their Blackness up. So they had their dashikis hanging, and they had their, they had their Black Good Times poster. But then when they removed all of those items and put up white people and a dog in the house, and then had their white friends come and pose as the owners of the home, the appraisal was significantly higher. And we have seen that in a number of instances. Now, of course, that is just Marin County, but there are a number of other scenarios where this has been relayed. And that's why there were certain efforts by the Democratic Party to state, okay, well, we're going to try and step in for this.
I actually remember that case, and I watched it with the family, and I thought that was just really just terrible. But the problem I guess I have with systemic racism is, I guess for somebody like me, where my family comes from, the Deep South, you probably don't even know it, Aliceville, Alabama. That's where my grandparents are from. And my grandpa came, if you saw the house that he grew up in, I'm not trying to be funny, it looked like a slave house. It was just, they grew up in poverty. And the fact that he was able to go from that and get the highest rank enlisted in the United States Navy amidst, all these, systems, so to speak, and he was able to buy his own house out in San Diego. He was able to, pass on these things to his son, my dad, and his grandchildren. Now I'm able to get an education. I was able to get my undergrad, my master's, that, the great grandson of enslaved peoples can now say that, educated and can even run for Congress. I don't see how these systems are still in place as they were before, because before I would say you do have a little bit of a
This is the thing when it comes to stuff like this. It's like people want to really want to hold on to the past and use that as an excuse why they can't succeed now. Like, we can't change anything in the past when it comes to racism or slavery, the civil rights and stuff like that. But as of right now in 2025, there is nothing holding you back from being the best person you can be, regardless of what race you are. We can't all be born in the best outcomes or the best circumstances. Obviously, there's people who grow up with single parents that work multiple jobs. There's people who grow up with parents that deal drugs or parents that spend time in prison. Like, we all can't grow up in the same circumstance. Like, then that's the whole argument, like equity. Like, everyone needs to be the same. You can never force everyone to be the same. It's impossible. Okay, but you can make it out of that. You can't use that as an excuse your whole life. Eventually, you need to grow up and be like, I can't use this as a crutch. I need to move on. I need to do something with my life. And that's what a lot of these conservatives are saying. Like, eventually, you got to take accountability and be like, I need to make something of myself. I can't keep using this stuff as an excuse for why I can't succeed. We all have issues when it comes to our life and growing up and things that hold us back, but you can still persevere and push through it.
A foothold. You do have some validity there. But I just think these days, when we call it systemic racism, really what we're calling it is those people who may still be in those institutions, those individual people who may actually be racist and hold some racist ideals, who are continuing to perpetuate this. I believe it's those people. So in all reality, the problem is not the systemic racism. The problem is us. The problem starts with those people who are perpetuating these, racist ideals. And so I feel like just to attack these systems is it's nonsensical.
Who's running the systems?
Like, which system? You're talking about
Whether
Congress, government?
Whether it's the prison industrial complex, we're seeing this now with immigration and ICE. We're seeing this also with the effort at not making schools available for equal level of schooling available with the voucher systems that are now allowing tax dollars to allow people to go to segregated schools.
Right.
Who is controlling those?
Those vouchers allow people's parents to choose what schools they're going to. Nothing to do with segregated schools. And it's funny because if a group of black people wanted to have their own black only school, I guarantee you she would support that. But now she's trying to say it's bad.
System. So for instance, in Tennessee, right?
Yeah.
So in Tennessee, you have a Senate and a House of Representatives that is largely controlled by white Republicans and that have actively said, we are not going to consider what the people want in our constituencies. We are going to simply just do what we want to do, to the point where they have removed.
So it's only in those states that have largely white legislators or largely white people are controlling these systems.
I can tell you firsthand, I live in Maryland, one of the bluest states in the whole country. The government does a bunch of things all the time that don't represent me. I'm one of their constituents, okay? So you can't sit there and use the argument they're ignoring. There's some kind of way, shape, or form constituents are getting ignored because we all don't think the same. So for you to sit there and be like, oh, Tennessee's mainly Republican, so this small group are being ignored. Yeah, I'm a small group in Maryland, a small conservative group, part of that's ignored. No one's speaking out for me.
I'm not trying to.
All right, guys, I'm so sorry. You have been voted out. Please return to your seat.
Thank you.
Oh, Lord.
So to go back to your claim, you basically said something about Tennessee and how they said what exactly. You said they are not in favor of what their people said, or?
Yeah, Tennessee has actively said, we're not really listening to our constituency. We're not even going to allow them in the gallery when we're voting on certain issues. So for instance, like when it comes to like guns in the classroom, like the constituency very largely said, we do not want guns in the classroom. And they were like, well, we don't care. We're going to do it anyway. We've also...
Most people in general don't want their taxes increased, but that didn't stop Maryland's government and Westmore from creating $1.6 billion in new taxes just this past year.
Seen them actively silence members of the House of Representatives who are Black and not silence someone who is doing the exact same action who is a white woman, Gloria. Shout out to the Justins.
You are right.
That was such a photo op. Oh my God. The fact that she even brought that up. The one guy literally changed the way he talked to sound like MLK. So now he tries talking like that now, and they showed previous videos before that incident where he talked normal. He's trying, like, it's all just a show.
Actually, on this aspect, I did actually remember a time where 2 Black Democrats, I believe, were actually not allowed to speak, and that was interesting. And I found that really insane, considering they're representatives of the state.
Yeah.
So no, I totally can get where you're coming from, but I don't think that's a institutionalized problem where it's a law per se. I think it's more so a personal vendetta in a way.
What's the difference if you are a lawmaker and you're exacting your personal ability, your personal choice through impediment of law change?
So if we're going to go based on systemic racism, it has to be institutionalized, which means it has to be written into law, made public. When it comes to that aspect, that's not necessarily made public by law. That's made public by choice and actual discrimination by person.
So I can give you an example in Tennessee.
Okay.
So for instance, in Tennessee, we can say that they are put into law that now tax dollars, the public's tax dollars will be supporting voucher systems. The voucher systems for the schools allow parents to choose whatever school they want their child to go to using taxpayer money. And these schools can be private schools. And private schools are not in any way limited from creating systems of segregation. And this is actually how segregated schools was carried out previous to Brown versus Board of Education. So this is a systemic example. We also can acknowledge.
So she's saying a systemic example because the voucher system can allow kids to go to a private school. Wouldn't the Black kids with this voucher system also be allowed to go to that private school? Like, she's acting like this voucher system that exists is only for the white kids in the state. It's for everyone. Like, what is she talking about?
Acknowledge that systemic examples come from not always it being written into law. And I think that is a real straw man argument for the way that a lot of colorblind racism is carried out in the United States. And what happens when we do that is we ignore the fact that most of the people making the laws are not going to put their racism on the books.
Oh, that's true. Obviously not going to put on the books. But when it comes to the Civil Rights Acts of 1964, then you also want to talk about the one in 1968. They did actually give more fair housing equality.
That was the goal.
Yeah, that's true.
But you see, that's the thing. It's like if so that's the difficult part of not changing a culture. You can change the law all day, but as Martin Luther King Jr., as the Dr. Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. talks about in his final book, he says, I feel like I integrated my people into a burning house because he understood America to be a place of morality.
Well, when it came back to even back in the 1960s, like Lyndon B. Johnson actually proposed many systems in place
But
he
after
actually
that, people still got lynched.
Well, I can't really say that's a systemic problem.
See, that's the thing too, where she's saying, yeah, there's anti-lynching laws, and if it still happens, that means it's a systemic issue. No, the system put in laws to prevent that from happening. Those people are breaking the laws. Like, murder is against the law, but it still happens. That doesn't make it a systematic issue that murder happens. There's laws to prevent it. So what she's saying makes no sense.
Well, and that's definitely a personal heart problem. Those are more people's individual choices against someone else.
But
when
if
it came down to
the system that's in place does not incarcerate those people or create any repercussions for those actions, then it is systemic.
How are they if they're literally killing them, they're going to jail? What are you talking about?
Because when you don't allow for there to be repercussions for harmful behaviors of the people, you're literally saying our system is okay with this. So that's what Black Lives Matter is about, right? Saying like, okay, if police are going to act in this way, well, there should at least be fair repercussions across all people that they're doing this to, and they're not carrying out those repercussions for Black people. Why? And so the system is supporting this personal point of view that you're talking about. And that's what makes it also systemic, along with the fact that we know for a fact that the number of Black people incarcerated is greater per capita than white people. We know that Black people are having longer sentences for the same crimes than white people. That's not me making that up. Like, that is actual data.
All right,
so
pause.
systemic is real.
Pause. You've been voted out by the majority. Please return to your seat.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. How you doing, Amanda? I'm Ryan.
Ryan. Nice to meet you.
Thanks for being here. All right. Well, what I would say is, as far as systematic racism, right? I think most of us would agree that at the very least it has occurred in this country.
Okay.
Right. You know, we've had slavery, we've had Jim Crow segregation, all these different things.
Yeah.
I think my argument would be that right now in modern America, I don't think, at the very least, it's not as prevalent as it has been to where it could stop us from being successful. Okay. I would say that it's not a thing anymore where it needs to be talked about so much and so much attention focused on it. I don't think that currently there is systematic racism in a way that it's going to be harmful to us, like I said, to stop us. If anything, really, I think institutions such as things with DEI.
What do you think DEI is?
Basically, I think that it's in a way it's racism against other races outside of blacks. And so,
Where did you get that concept of it from?
I've researched a lot of things. I looked at different clips from both sides of the argument, things like that. But basically, my point is, I think that as far as systematic racism, I think that there's evidence from the other side, in that there's different things that are pushing black people up in ways that are not fair, and different things like that. Because I think that we should be merit-based. I think that should always be merit-based, and where we're in, when there's jobs and different things like that, race should not be something that's considered. And so, I think that, let's say that there are ways right now where systematic racism is still alive. Again, it's not holding us back to a point where we can still be successful. We've seen so many examples, today in modern times where Black Americans can, there's no opportunities that I have that a white person or that a white person has that I don't have. That I believe that all opportunities.
Are you sure about that? Can you actually say that?
I would say that I have every opportunity in this country to be successful, to do what I want to do, and to stand on business that every other race has. Absolutely. And
do you have the
again,
same support?
Even if I don't have the same support, I can do what I got to do.
Do you have the same support?
I probably have more. I can have more support than others.
Support?
I have excellent community.
In reality, in 2025, what does she mean by community support? Like, we live in a time where people don't even know their neighbors. They're not as close with their families as they used to be because of the whole, pandemic, the way the world is divided. So what is she talking about? What community support do you need to be successful? If you want to go to school and you want to get a certain job and all this stuff, you can do that on your own. It's possible.
Support. Absolutely.
Lucky for you.
Sure. Yeah.
Where did you grow up in a lower income, middle income, high income community?
It was middle income.
Okay.
Yeah. So again, I think that even those who grew up in very needy situations, right, they may not have been dealt a great hand of cards.
But they still.
They can still, I think it comes down to accountability. You can still play your hand and play your cards strategically in a way where you can still be successful, you can still do your thing, and you can wind up on top. And there's nothing stopping them from doing that.
Would you say that low-income white people and low-income black people have the same ability to excel?
I would say they have the same ability to excel.
Okay, so I'm going to start countering from that point then. Sure. So ultimately, we know that our low-income communities are not given the same access to resources on a myriad of levels. They don't even have the same air quality, okay? We know that low-income communities in general are also going to be much more policed than other communities. We know that policing as it exists in the United States came from slave catching. So even the tradition of policing comes from protecting property, not protecting people.
How do people like this exist? Oh my God, the idea of policing refers to slave catching. So we should just, not have police anymore? And usually low income areas are higher in crime, which is why more police are there. Like, what is this woman on?
Okay. So let's start there. When we talk about low income, like the working class black people in this nation, we know that they have never been considered, ever, whether they were slaves or not. They just weren't considered. And we also know.
So if they're not considered at all, why are all those black people on welfare and SNAP and Medicare? That seems like they're being looked out for by the government, doesn't it?
As our brother Isaiah pointed out, that there are still people in very powerful positions that hold very personal positions as it relates to racism. And so in that way, they are impediments to someone moving forward.
Okay.
When we talk about DEI, the concept of DEI is not about lowering a standard. It's about widening the options. So we live in a nation that I feel like a lot of y'all are looking at the United States as a long history of something. We have a short history. All right. For 400 years, there was slavery. Black people were not even considered whole humans.
It's not 400 years. It's like 250. They say 400 years because it sounds worse.
We were 3/5 human. After the Civil War, during Reconstruction, Black people were then subjected to the Black laws. The Black laws were specifically for Black people. The Black laws incarcerated Black people at such an exorbitant rate that they were able to get another slave labor force through the 13th Amendment, because you had Black people that were serving entire life, like months-long, years-long sentences for jaywalking.
Okay.
So when we look at these things, we act as if, well, why can't we just get over that? That's 2 generations previous, okay? So if a father in the early 1900s was incarcerated for 2 years, how do you think that would impede their family from being able to grow, right?
Sure.
Now you're affecting the ability for their children to have 2 parents.
So now she's agreeing that it's important to have fathers in the home. Earlier in this debate, she acted like that was a silly argument.
Parents in the home. You also now have a mother who's like incredibly stressed and may have to always be working, so she's not able to parent, etc. We also know that there is a continued effort in this nation to not have Black people know the history of this nation. Like our good sis here was talking about, like, we have resilience, but this nation actively works systemically to keep that from us, right? We look in Florida at the laws that they are passing to not allow education about our past. And we know that if we don't know where we came from, how can we know where we're going?
Sure. Okay.
All right,
So
I think that stuff with Florida was debunked before. But the thing is, we live in a world where there's literally information at your fingertips everywhere. You can learn about literally any kind of topic you want from Google, YouTube, TikTok, wherever. If you want to look up what happened with Black people 200 years ago, you can find that. I don't know why there's this mindset of, oh, you can only go to school to learn things. You're only educated if you go to college. You can't possibly learn things on your own. I don't get that mindset. You can discover anything you want to learn by just going on Google, YouTube, TikTok. You can learn yourself. It's a crazy concept, I know. So like, I just don't get it, honestly. I don't get how someone like her exists with that mindset of just like, oh, Black people are oppressed. There's nothing we do about it. And then everything she brings up is from like 100 years ago plus. And she's saying, oh, 2 generations ago, this happened to this family. Yeah, you know, generational wealth that they always talk about on average only lasts about 2 generations. So if there's a wealthy family in that same time period, they're most likely poor now, you know, and white families in general, a lot of times don't have generational wealth either. So I just don't get that argument. Like my family doesn't have generational wealth. Most families don't.
So sorry. I'm sorry.
All good.
That's flags.
yeah.
Hi.
Hi again.
We cool now?
We good. We good. I think we're on the same. We're kind of looking at the same side of the same coin, and I think we both want the betterment of the Black community, and I think we're maybe coming from it from different ways. And so I do respect your position to what you were saying as well, that there are certain things and powers at play. And I've experienced racism firsthand. A lot of conservatives may try to act like, oh, there's no racism in America. I absolutely believe there is racism in America. I believe racist people exist. I just don't think that the systems as they stand today are inherently racist, because I've seen too many Black people overcome. And I just feel like a lot of times what's left out of the dialogue is self-accountability and like self-will. We talked about how we were 3/5 of a person, but now we are 100%, I guess, according to the law or whatever, a person. And I feel like at the end of the day, if you wanted to walk out here,
what, Black votes don't count as one vote? What are you talking about?
Here right now and decide, you know what, I want to change my career, I want to do that, you can. And that's why so many people, and Nigerians come here, and Indians come here, and so many people who are not white, who are supposed to be discriminated against because they're not white, they come here and they become doctors and lawyers. Why? Because to your point, there's community. There's a sense of pride about, you know what, I got to go honor my parents back in Nigeria. I'm part Nigerian. I have to go honor my parents. I have to go honor my elders. They're not twerking and shaking booty. They're getting
They are literally twerking and shaking booty in
the
Nigeria.
Nigerians I know ain't doing it. If they are
We
twerking and shaking, but
literally
they
learned it
doctors
from Africa.
They're doctors twerking and shaking
literally
booty. So
have
maybe
it
they
from
can shake
Africa.
because they
But
got
I
the money
think-
to
I
back
think
it up.
that's
But do
an
you see what
unfair
you're saying? But do
generalization.
you see what I'm saying though? We have to be honest, Amanda. When
Well,
Indians come here,
as a fellow daughter of an immigrant,
Okay.
right? So my mother's from Grenada. My mother did come here and was able to work and was able to get green cards
Props
for
to
folks.
her.
So shout out to my mom. There's a very big difference in growing up somewhere and coming from a place where you are the majority and where your people are running the show than being somewhere where your people have been subjugated the entire time your people have been
but your
here.
mama came here and she wasn't the majority. So how did
No.
she succeed?
That's the thing with this is, if America is so bad, right, so racist towards Black people, why would Black people from other countries ever migrate here? Oh, sorry, ever migrate here? Why? Why would they? If it's so bad here and they could stay there and be in their own communities, why do they try so hard to come here? Makes no sense.
Because she came here with the fortitude of coming from a place.
Her resilience, right?
No, but
and she had her village.
Let me say what I'm saying.
Okay, I'll let you unpack.
If we don't acknowledge divide and conquer in the United States, we are having a pointless conversation.
I agree.
We have to acknowledge that there is a concerted effort at divide and conquer in the United States. We're literally watching it happen right now with an effort to divide and conquer and have black people fighting immigrants and have black people saying that immigrants don't matter.
And fighting white people.
White people is not the point. The concept of white people is about people who are upholding a supremacy of whiteness versus people who understand that there should be an egalitarianism. There should be an equality.
We are becoming the new white supremacists.
We are.
We've been putting them on a pedestal.
We are.
We feel like we can't do anything.
No, it's not that we're putting them. It's not that we're putting them on a pedestal. It's that we are joining them and instead weaponizing our blackness against our people. When we do what you're saying, we are saying, I am better because I figured it out, and so you're the problem because you didn't figure it out.
But Amanda, what about if I believe that the American dream is, I have a right to that as well? Is that me joining white people, or is that me saying, you know what, I want a life for my dream? The American dream for me, because it may look different from other people. Some people it's a boss chick. For me, I want my kids to grow up in a wonderful neighborhood. I want them to go to college. I want to have a 401k. I want to do this. I want to do that. So I feel like a lot of times in the black community, we associate anything that's right or that's just or that's striving forward with whiteness. So when you say that we're working with them,
it's not that it's whiteness, it's capitalism. And I think that's what we have to understand the difference of. The concept of capitalism always is grounded in exploitation.
But Amanda, we're sitting here benefiting from capitalism, and you know that because you would.
I understand that we are benefiting. I understand that we are benefiting from capitalism, but I also understand that we would have other people and a majority of people benefit if we were not solely capitalist. That is what it means to be a black radical. Is to understand that I can benefit as well as others.
So, Amanda, what is your solution then? Because we know that capitalism benefits us, and people are coming here every day.
My solution is what I continue to say. We need to have coalition building across cultural differences, across ethnicities, across classes.
And that includes collaborating with white people.
I've never said it didn't.
But I
this obsession with white people fails to acknowledge the fact that there are people who benefit from white supremacy.
But we live in America,
Let me finish my point. There are people who benefit from white supremacy that do not identify themselves as white. They don't consider.
Oh my God. Do you guys remember when Larry Elder ran for governor against Gavin Newsom in California? And they called him the black face of white supremacy. This is the issue here. Even people anybody that thinks differently than them, no matter what color they are, they're automatically supporting white supremacy. They would not hesitate to call a black person a white supremacist. That's the issue here.
That to be the most important element of their identity, because they understand that at the end of the day, we need to see each other as humans that all deserve a right to exist.
Exactly.
We all deserve a right to exist, and I shouldn't have to earn my right to exist. And that is what capitalism does.
What makes you think that you have to earn it? That's what I'm saying.
That is what this nation is. You do have to earn it.
You do.
Yes, you do. That is why we are criminalizing the poor. We are criminalizing the poor on a regular basis. How so? Because we're not even allowing for a wage to happen to allow people to get out of poverty. We are seeing inflation grow.
We both have people in our family that have done it, so we can't.
No, we have not had people that are done it. My mother came to America with an entire nursing degree. I can't say, oh, well, my mother did it. Why can't you? Because my mother
was pregnant at 19 from the south side of Chicago with no degree and still made
good for your mom.
But
this is the thing.
So we can't do it.
It's not. The question isn't whether or not some people can do it. The question and the reality is that it is not available to everyone in an equal way.
And that's unfortunate, man. But
that will never happen. She's talking about equity. She's saying everyone just needs to be put in the same situation no matter what, and that will literally never happen. That is literally impossible. So what she's asking for, it just doesn't even make sense.
We live in a broken society. I went to Nigeria and they're having the same problems, and it's a bunch of black people that are running Nigeria.
It's a broken society.
But it's the same thing in Nigeria.
But Nigeria is a broken society, whereas Burkina Faso is not. Burkina Faso is not.
That's time.
What I find interesting about this is that she's talking about, oh, we're descendants of slaves and stuff like that. But then she said her mom's from Grenada, which is an island in the Caribbean. So half of her lineage wasn't even here during slavery. I would be interested to see where her dad's line of ancestry is, because she might not even be a descendant of slaves. That's the thing. A lot of people can't trace their ancestry back to the mid 1800s. So you have no idea if your family was slave owners, if your family were actually slaves. You have no idea. And for her to sit, and what I've noticed with people that are children of immigrants is that the immigrants will come here and work hard, right? Work their ass off. to make something of themselves. And then their kids grow up spoiled and entitled. And it's because this American liberal ideology, like her mom seems very successful and she turned into this. Like, it's insane. I don't get why that happens with immigrant families and their kids turn like just ungrateful. It blows my mind. But yeah, that's it for part 3. I'm gonna do a part 4 at some point. Part 1 and 2 in the description below. Thank you guys for watching. Comment and tell me what you think about this debate and everything that's going on. Catch you next time.